This is the North End. This is the North End.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is up? It is the North End, a Premier League fan show. I'm Paul Forrest. I'm a Man United fan. I'm one of the guys that gets together once a week to talk about all things Premier League, some Champions League, some FA Cup, some other trophies in between. Today we have a great show. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I encourage anybody watching to shoot us some messages while we're talking, and we'll throw you on with us, and we can just hash out all the feelings and all the thoughts. With me today is my friend Azaz from Toronto.
How's it going, mate?
Not in a closet, but in his room. Just has too many jerseys to just keep it all organized in one section.
It's true. I got kicked out of where I normally am for this week, so all good.
Nice.
From with some of the classic jerseys I've got here. So
I'll tell you,
yeah.
I actually feel like this could be your new spot. It makes a lot more sense. It feels more like if you were going to be, I'm a huge Premier League guy. Like, look over your shoulder. Like there's constant evidence of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It adds credibility, as they say.
Yeah. You know what else adds credibility? If you're an Aston Villa fan, maybe film yourself in some sort of dark looking cave. Oh, there he is. JP California from some sort of dark looking cave.
With a tiger. There's a giant tiger right here too. Lives in the cave.
Now,
Guys,
when you say that, do you understand that there's a store called Giant Tiger? Is that an American store?
No, I have never heard of that store before.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, there's a retail outlet in Canada that just sells really cheap shit called Giant Tiger.
No way.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very
There's not one in
Kansas
Toronto. There's not one in
No,
Toronto,
it's like a weird
Hamilton,
burbs.
London.
I drive through small towns and I get really excited. I have to be like, I want to go to Giant Tiger. Like it's like Byway back in the day.
Yeah.
And then I buy all the Aston Villa shit.
Teenager version of you wants to go there and check out all the cheap throwback stuff, right?
Oh my god, I love a deal. JP California.
Yeah.
I love a deal. I don't buy Man United stuff full price. I love it.
Oh my god. I saw some legit jerseys this weekend for both you boys. Like Robin Van Persie, the checkered one.
Oh yeah, tell us about it. You were at House of Football, was that right?
I was at the House of Football, which above on the second floor was what is it as? Saturday's Football?
Yeah. So their brand is called Saturday's Football. The venue, the refurbished church is called House of Football. Yeah. And then their online, they've got merch, they've got jerseys, etc. It's called Saturday's Football.
And man, they were pulling some. They had just gotten a box, so me and my buddy waited behind for him to pull out this huge box with 50 jerseys in it. And they were just pulling out some huge winners. A Giggs jersey, that looked good. They were pulling out the Van Persie jersey. They pulled out, I think they pulled out a Alonso jersey. They pulled out some winners. I was this would
be the worst place for me to go watch a game because I'd just be 3 or 4 beers in. I'd just be spending. Drunk shopping is not good for me.
They literally had a mini fridge, and that's what they had all their beers. And it wasn't hey, let me ring you up on our cash register. It was let me look. You had I don't know. You had 4 beers and 3 shots and this and that. You're $25. Here you go. Oh, and you're you're so in so much trouble because we had 2 shots, we had 2 teas, we had 2 scones, we had 2 packaged waters, and he's like,
"You wild man,
2
scones, you crazy fool!"
I know. He's like $15, and I was like, "Okay, take my money. Here's your big tip. I will gladly pay 2 shots alone at a bar is $20 for me." And I'm like, "All right, take my money."
In Toronto, all of that's $115. So
yeah,
what?
We have very expensive scones.
We have very expensive everything, but this isn't an economics show. So let's get on with the footy.
To the footy we go.
Yeah.
I will chime in. I also had a bar experience recently watching the Cup final, Newcastle Man United, and I'll tell you, when you win a cup, you don't care about the bill as much as you should towards the end of the game.
Yeah, it comes back to pinch you.
There's some sticker shop.
Are you going to have a bar experience this Sunday? Open invite? No,
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not like I don't want to. I think the idea of going to watch it at the local Liverpool clubhouse with that crew would be fun, especially since I expect a United win. But I do love my niece very much, and she's turning like 11, I want to say, and they live out of town.
My nephew's turning 7 on Sunday, so they share a birthday. He's in England, but still, anyway, we're going in all kinds of directions right now.
Would you miss the game for his birthday?
If I was in England, yeah, I would. But we are raising him to be a Liverpool fan anyway, so him and my brother will be watching the game.
All right.
So,
well,
yeah.
It'll be in the background, whatever.
Yeah,
that's not the kindest.
What's up, Liam? Thanks for joining us, dude.
I did get my niece a Man United jersey. Just wondering what her gift is. Charlotte, if you're watching, turn this off. Act surprised.
Yeah.
Okay. Liam's here. Liam's a good guy. Liam's always kind of joining us when we're live.
I dig it. He's our regular.
I like it. I like it, Liam. I like it a lot. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with, as we should and always do, the league standings, because typically this is where we're starting to see the stories. I'm going to say
even back out.
I'm going to be consistent here and say that maybe the bottom of the table is where the action is the most entertaining and the most fun. I don't know that much has really changed since we last talked. It does still feel like
I feel like the bottom's starting to pull apart a little bit. You don't have 3 points with 7 teams. You got 3 points for like 4 teams now. You're starting to get the 9 and 4s, the Leicesters. I feel like the Wolverhamptons are starting to creep away, just safe-ish.
I think Southampton for me are locked now. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. I don't know where the defending's going to come from. I just don't see enough from them to say I can see them doing yet another great escape. I just think it's beyond them right now. Bournemouth, I think, are up and gone. I think it's pretty straightforward. Everton's the only one where it gets really interesting because they've played, I think, one more game, not less, but one more game than those closest to them above them. And we'll talk about this later in the show, but I feel like Everton might be, I can see where this is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else, to your point, I think is going to slowly move away. But also, there's some teams there like I keep waiting for Wolves to get better. And they're not. And Leeds, I mean, JP's going to say it. I think he actually expects them to crumble a bit. They're so inconsistent, whatever they are now. They did just win their last game, but...
Well, the crazy thing was Villa just played Everton last weekend, and Everton were decent. They were good, but they get around the box, and they just can't do anything. They can't finish. They're literally like one guy next to them, and they can't make the touch and the finish. It's like they fluff it, they mishit it. Like it doesn't matter. It could be an open goal, and I feel like they'd miss.
Yeah,
I'm really worried for Everton because they just can't score.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about them in a little bit more detail and get into all things Everton. But as these discussions always go, you have to talk about who else is around the drop because all of a sudden a shitty team may not be so shitty if somebody gets even shittier. And the question is there anybody there that might get so shitty that Everton might get saved? I look around. I just think West Ham.
Are they clicked? They clicked?
Everybody should be shocked that they're there. Like they're not this bad, surely. Leeds are maybe the only team
from us, and he put in 2 goals in his first game, and it looks like he's been there all season. Like Danny Ings just played right into the team. He looks good again. All of a sudden, he starts scoring. Shocking. I think West Ham is slowly going to start picking up some points here and there to climb up the table nicely. They look decent.
They don't have the FA Cup anymore, so that's nice.
Yeah, they don't. I expect Wolves to pull away a little bit as well, to be honest. Like, firstly, in prep of the show, I was just looking at everyone's fixture schedule, and Wolves have got like the odd big team scattered around the next 14, but otherwise there are winnable games. And I rate Lopetegui as a coach. So we've played them 4 times since the start of the year. So I've had a lot of Wolves. It was like, 2 FA Cup games and both league games. I think they're a decent team, to be honest with you. Like, even the
one of those games, maybe one of those games, they are pretty hard done by to have it be a draw. I think that game was like, they are. It's just the question with Wolves is what the question's always been with Wolves: who's going to score them goals? And they just never have anybody who can clearly answer that question.
Ever since the Raul injury, like I did really rate him before. Like I do feel bad. Like he's not done a Peter Cech, who's just come back, and obviously Cech used to be able to wear the helmet. he looked like a different player ever since the injury.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't change the fact that there's no one there to score the goals. But if they can survive and get a decent striker in, we've got some amazing coaches in the league, and I know that's not what we're talking about here, but like just look up and down the league, and like there are some really good coaches, and he's one of them.
Yeah, and I like Wolves. I always want Wolves to stay up, but I do think even if they do stay up, there's going to be a lot of players like Ruben Neves. I fully expect will move on this year. Like it has to be.
It has to be
because he's better than what this is right now, right? So let's look at the top of the table. For me, I think things are starting to get some sort of sense of normalcy again. Like we're starting to see Liverpool kind of getting into that 6th spot. Newcastle are starting to drop more games. Their issue is match winning. They're really good at pulling off draws. So even with Liverpool's inconsistency, they're able to make up ground. And then you've got Tottenham who are quietly kind of still getting it done. I mean, we're going to shit on them later in the show for a bunch of different reasons, but like they're not having a good season, and yet their manager is up for manager of the month. They are still in 4th. They've got some very winnable stretches of games coming up. Like they are doing much better than the narrative around Tottenham. Even the fact that Man United are ahead of them right now, like I'm not comfortable about that. Like they have an underperforming squad. So I think when I start looking at this, I fully expect Liverpool will start climbing and Newcastle will start dropping. And then the real question becomes,
can
what is
Liverpool
that gap?
Catch Tottenham?
That 4 or 5 gap, like that's going to be a sprint. And I don't know.
Can I just say, so firstly, we have a game in hand on Tottenham. So that's one thing. The second thing is, there's loads of websites out there that are able to, you can check like form over 4 games, form over 8 games.
Sure.
And the most you can do is 12, because after that, it's not form per se.
Yeah.
And over 12 games, the reading is kind of crazy. So Liverpool are only 3 points off the top spot over 12 games, and that includes that drastic start to the year, which obviously shows that like as we were coming into the World Cup and coming out of the World Cup, Liverpool had a pretty decent run, and then there was that disaster that we talked about of like how they didn't pick up any points or like 1 point out of 9, and then they've done 10 in the last 12. But over 12 games, there is a bit of a Liverpool comeback. We were much further behind like at the start of the season or the first 12 games of the season. Doesn't mean we'll break in necessarily to the top 4, just because there is a thing at this stage of the season of having the points advantage, but I do really fancy us for a push for that top 4, and then it just comes down to details, right? Do you show up? Do you get the penalties? How do VAR decisions go against you? Like, can you do set pieces can you defend them? Can you score them? Like, it comes down to the details, but like, I'm pretty comfortable at this point with 14 games left to go with the game in hand. I'm pretty comfortable. Obviously, I'd be a lot more comfortable in United's position or City's position. Like, I get it. We are still chasing, but I definitely don't feel like I did maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I have to say that there is a bit of a slight, like the clouds are like leaving a little bit. And obviously for us at the moment, it is a disappointing season, but like we have a chance of like having the minimum achievement happening just based on the run.
I will say a lot of what I see. I don't know if it's even like fair to say that this is a Liverpool community or if it's a fan base or whatever, but a lot of anti-Klopp sentiment has been shared on like talk radio and things like that. And it's kind of stupid. It's like context matters. When they lose games or when they find themselves in the standings and they're struggling, like if you're a real fan, you should have been a part of that journey the entire time. It didn't just happen. Like one thing that happened to another thing, happened to another thing, happened to another thing. And like, did Klopp have a role in that? Yes. But like enough that you're going to give up on all the positive that he brings. and not one of them can suggest a better manager that would get them into a place that's further along. It's pretty wild.
It's shock radio, mate, because I know
Yeah,
hundreds
it
of
has to
Liverpool
be.
fans, and I don't know a single person. People get his role wrong sometimes about like he's a lot more integrated with FSG's model than people want to believe. Like he wants the continuity. You know, like he would have gone to FSG last year and said, "I want Bellingham," and when they couldn't get Bellingham because Borussia had already sold Haaland to Man City, and they're like, "We're not selling anyone else." He would have been the one that's like, actually, I'm good with these 9 guys. He didn't know that the 9 midfielders were all going to fall off because they'd had a crazy season. And just once you've lost your momentum, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And confidence, it's not easy to get it back. So I do think Klopp's a lot more integrated with FSG out. And I do believe if you are firmly FSG out, you are actually a little bit Klopp out. You just don't realize it. But like none of the hundreds of Liverpool fans I'm in groups with have, not one has come out and said Klopp has to go. However, there are like the extremes on either side of every fan base.
The Twitter sphere.
And what those talk radios and stuff do is they pluck one of them to try and get like ratings and all that stuff.
Right. So since we're talking about Liverpool, and the question does seem to be, really, can they make a surge up the table? Because we kind of know, at least Newcastle's form is suggesting that they're dropping points. So probably worth just reminding everybody, Man United this weekend, red hot Man United based on form alone.
That's hard.
So that's going to be a tough game. Then it's Bournemouth, which I fully expect should be like a cakewalk, 3 points. But then you're hitting a real meaty part of what I think it to be the defining part of the season for Liverpool, which would be Manchester City, Chelsea, and Arsenal all off the bounce.
Yeah.
You come out of that, you're not playing Tottenham until April. That game might actually be for that 4th spot. That'll be really influential if you guys are still neck and neck at that point. But it's weird because your tail end of your season is going to be relatively winnable, but you're really coming to that, can we dig this season out part of the schedule over the course of the next 3-4 weeks now? And that's crazy because like right now we're looking at this table and so much is about to shift top and bottom of the table, but we're coming to that part where teams are directly in competition for certain positions, even at the bottom of the table, are about to clash. And it's, I love this part, man. I love this part. This is the best.
So I'll say a couple of things. Firstly, I agree with your red hot Man United. I agree with that. But over 4 games, we have the same points. Over 6 games, we have the same points. And over 12 games, we have 3 less points than Man United. So, like, I understand Man United are red hot because they won the Carabao Cup, sorry. I understand the FA Cup run. I genuinely believe Liverpool would also have had good runs if we had had every game at Anfield. So it's like balance that off a little bit. But I don't disagree that Man United are red hot. Man U are blazing compared to the last couple of years and just on the current form. And yet, like I was saying, on 4, 6, and 12 games, we have the almost identical record. So it's interesting. Like Liverpool are
who's at home?
Liverpool, it's at Anfield. So Liverpool are an enigma right now. Like they can play well and lose or draw, or they can like do all right, like they did against Wolves the other day, and actually win the game. So which Liverpool shows up is one thing. The second thing I have to say about when Sunday is we make a lot of individual mistakes right now, and Man United punish individual mistakes right now. Like I think so going into it, I do think United are on hotter form than Liverpool. I don't think you can question that because Carabao, FA, Europa, that stuff does come into momentum. It is part of momentum, but we've not been as bad as people think we have, just because like the points don't lie, right? Like over and the last thing I'll say before we move on from Liverpool is over the last 4 Premier League games, we actually haven't conceded a goal, which is, again, it's it's kind of going unnoticed a little bit, just because there's the 5, like the 5 shipping 5 to Madrid in the middle, for example. Like, there are little things that are shoots of recovery. Liverpool were in 9th or 10th a few, maybe 6 weeks ago.
Sure.
So for them to pull up to 6 now. Newcastle play City first thing in this weekend. So if we are able to beat Man United at home, which we always fancy, obviously United are allowed to feel confident coming to Anfield, but great Alex Ferguson teams would fail at Anfield. So it's easier said than done. So let's say Newcastle don't beat Man City and Liverpool beat City. We end the weekend at 5th. Now we're only looking at one place above us, right? So 14 games. I don't want to have any hyperbole coming from any Liverpool fan saying we're going to come top 4, because that's a very arrogant thing to say based on how Liverpool haven't been able to put wins successive together. And at the same time, I'm not into the Liverpool doom and gloomers at all. This is a disappointing season, without a question, because we want to be challenging for the big honors. However, to think that there's actually 4 better teams than Liverpool over 38 games is a bit of a stretch. So the rest we'll have to see.
I'm a big fan of respect your opponent, know what they are. So I hear everything you're saying. I just think, you played Wolves twice in the last 5 games. They don't score goals. So is your defense really improving, or did you play Wolves twice? You know what I mean?
100%.
And there's that 5-0 game against Real Madrid, who are better than Crystal Palace, who's another one of your opponents. Everton, who has been another of your opponents. So it's one of those weird ones. You don't really know where you are in your turnaround yet until you've done something like what's about to happen on Sunday against Man United, whose league form is not that hot, but whose overall form in all competitions is pretty hot. So I personally still have the edge. I weirdly still have the edge to Liverpool. I go in expecting a draw as a good result for Man United. I don't think the win is there to be taken.
I agree with all the things you said. It was 5-2, by the way, against Madrid. But yeah, it was 5 goals. 5 goals.
Sorry, I forgot, because the 2 goals happened first.
Yeah, definitely. What I will say about United as well is we've been there with Klopp 17, 18, 19, where the momentum is bigger than any run on paper. It's that feel good where the fans are coming together, it looks like the team, even the way they celebrate. It's so funny how people on social media who haven't even won a trophy, by the way, and none of us have won trophies. I'm talking about fans of clubs who have won trophies. You don't know what I did in high school. Fair enough. But I'm guessing you haven't won a Carabao Cup, right? So I think I would know about that by now. I don't know. What I was saying was, it's so funny how fans of clubs who haven't even won a Carabao Cup are talking about Anthony and Martinez.
Hey. Are you making this fucking personal against me? What the hell, dude?
No. I didn't even. Sorry, man. I didn't even know you did that. I'm just talking about the Twitterverse. Realistically, the momentum Man United have right now, we went through it a few years ago, and you have to get to that point where you see the Carabao as an achievement before you kick on. And in 2-3 years' time, you can be the Carabao is nothing. But every trophy means something. So I think there is a bit of a it is all coming together.
I honestly get so annoyed when people don't get excited about a trophy. If Man City fans want to go up and down Yonge Street after the Carabao Cup, I'm gonna scoff at that. But if you want to have a party because you just want a cup, have a party, man. It's just more about the extent to the parade you're prepared to throw yourself for each cup. I had a great day watching the final against Newcastle. I had a party. Me and my buddy had a party. But the next day I woke up hungover and I questioned if it was worth it for the Carabao Cup. I wouldn't have done that for the FA Cup. I wouldn't have done that for Champions League. I probably would do that for Europa. So have a party while you can, but it's just more of a maybe taper the shit talking you're allowed to say to other people, but don't go to others and say, oh, it was just the Carabao Cup, or oh, it was just the Europa, or you got knocked out in the semifinal or the final of the Champions League. That's huge. That's a great achievement for a lot of clubs.
Very much.
Okay. So consensus, though, exciting time coming up. I know we're not talking a lot about Aston Villa because basically they're in the middle of the table. The table's not going to introduce too much conversation when it comes to JP's team. Get used to that because honestly, they're just so middle of the pack.
Yeah,
which might be a good thing for you right now. That's not bad.
I'll take it. you know what? This season's a throwaway. I want to see what comes up in the summer. I want to see next season.
Listen, Bill, you got your new manager.
Yeah.
You actually got yourself a proper manager. Steven Gerrard was stupid. That was a mistake. You got a proper manager.
Bad.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked.
So speaking of stupid shit, Ivan Toney.
I'm taking him out of my fantasy team right now.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I have a point of view on that as well myself. So Ivan Toney charged with over 200 counts of breaking the rules that govern basically don't bet on sports, the sport that you play in, if you're a professional football player in England. Now, I have heard, interestingly, a lot of former players come out and say, I don't think I actually realized that was a formal rule. Nobody ever really sat me down as a young player and said, don't bet on games, which is, if that's true.
How is that not done?
I mean, I can almost see like it's such common sense that you're not allowed to do it that you don't even tell people about it. I can almost see it being a thing, especially with, it's not like they're going to the bookies. Like you can just do it on your phone. Like it's so accessible. They wear gambling logos on their jerseys. Like I don't know. I know he broke the rules. I don't think he's a villain for it. I just think he might be a bit dumb and also maybe guilty of being a young, dumb guy when he started. A lot of these charges are for earlier in his career. I mean, 200 plus counts of it is crazy. I would love to see what the actual details are, though. You know what I mean? Like if it was a $5 every game he went out and he's always betting on himself to score a goal, I kind of have sympathy for that. Whereas if he was like, I bet on myself to win a penalty, I know I'm the penalty taker for my team because I was taking the best penalties in training all week. Okay, cool. Well, that's not information you're supposed to have. That's problematic. But Ivan Toney has pled guilty to some, but not all the charges. Implications for Brentford are probably that there will be a hearing, a full investigation, a tribunal, and then a punishment. That takes probably a month to sort out because he is fighting some of the charges and they're going to go through everything before they put the hammer down. So for Brentford, it's kind of a weird situation because I think they actually probably want him to get the punishment right away so that he's available for next season.
I just don't think he's going to be available next season. I mean, do we want to even talk about what we believe the punishment should be?
I think he's going to get something close to 4 months.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think it should be something like 2 years.
Well, again, what is he betting on? You know what I mean?
And and this is a different question, but like, what is the preface on this? Like what has happened in these situations before?
This has never come up this way before. The only similar, and it's not even directly relevant to this, the only similar situation was, my man from Newcastle.
Trippier.
Who got done for giving information to his mate to put money down on something.
That's sketch.
That is sketch.
It was sketch.
I will get a yellow card in this minute.
Right.
Yeah. I want to say.
Well, no, it was a bet that he was transferring to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
He basically told
that
his friend.
Sketch. Yeah.
If he had told his friend, I'm going to Atletico Madrid, no problem. But he said, no, I'd put money on it. Like, that's almost like an expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the guy went off and put money on it.
This guy did it like, 98 times? He's like, there's how many counts?
But we don't know.
It's over 200.
But we don't know what the bet is, though, right? Two things. Firstly, Paul made a great point about his age, and it's like we forget sometimes how young these guys are, and like some of these bets are not Premier League bets. So like, add like minus like 2-3 years off him, and like the guy's got a smartphone and he's just doing stuff that he doesn't even know that's wrong. I'm not saying I'm not excusing what he's doing, by the way. I'm just giving a little bit of like innocence to it. Potentially there is potential innocence in what he's doing, or naivety, I would say. Naivety.
I 100% think this is
naivety. But
there's gambling, like the Dirty Socks back in the day where they threw games. Baseball reference. Shoeless Joe. Like that's the worst version of this, and that's why the rules are in play. If he's literally putting money on himself to score a goal, which is his objective anyways, every single game,
and he backs himself.
I'm kind of like,
literally, he's backing himself.
There's like, what you did was so dumb, but there's a common sense to it's not sinister. It was just dumb.
Yeah, I don't think we know enough. Honestly, I don't think we know enough.
That is kind of the crux that I had. That's the only thing that's holding me back from like, yes, throw the book at him 100%. It's just like, we don't know, right? Okay. What if every single bet was like League Two?
Let's ask this question. Ivan Toney, one of the better goal scorers in the Premier League, was one of the best goal scorers, if not, I think second best goal scorer in the championship. This is the season he's proving his caliber and is kind of meant to be taking that next step. I think would have been on the plane to the World Cup if it wasn't for the stuff breaking. Next step. He is banned until January 2024 of next year, hypothetically, and is a Brentford player, and Brentford will ask $30 million for him to buy him. Would you, from a Liverpool perspective, still be in on this guy, or is this tarnished him enough that you're like, nah, I gotta stay away from this shit?
I need to know more. Honestly, like, I agree with you that if it's as dirty as throwing games, then throw the book at him. And I actually don't think the 2 years. But if it was 200 bets and it was like throwing games, then he's done.
Oh, yeah.
If it's 200 bets and it's got nothing to do with his performance, I don't think it's 2 years. But he's not getting nothing. You know, like it's not like, I'm not saying that he's like, if it was not part of his, like the guy's broken rules.
Well, let's assume. Like, for this exercise, let's assume the punishment was up till January of 2024. So it couldn't have been that serious, but pretty serious, pretty lengthy ban.
Yeah,
half a season ban.
You would still sign him?
The only thing stopping me signing him is we need a new fucking midfield. So like realistically,
would you take him? You need a forward.
Number 9.
And you need a forward.
If we still need a forward in January of 2024,
no.
So
you have to choose this summer right now, knowing he won't play until January.
No, because again, JP, what I'm saying is I need one now. I need one at the start of the year. Like that's why it would be a problem. Like if he gets off, let's say he gets a slap on the wrist, the rest of this year is over, and that he can start playing the start of next season. Like a 3-month ban, maybe misses the first month of football next season. Yeah. Ivan Toney has done enough that I would be interested in signing him up for Man United for sure.
Who else would he be a good destination for?
Every team, because every team needs a goal scorer. Yeah. Like they're other than Haaland.
I mean, Chelsea
would be great.
Arsenal, like even Arsenal, like if Nketiah is the solution, like he's one player that like is a decent backup, or Ivan Toney's a improvement on him, right? I think any team could have Ivan Toney in it, except who's got the apex number 9 in the league is Haaland. Other than that, like I think any team could have him.
Yeah,
Chelsea. It's
ironic because Chelsea actually bought him a year ago, and nobody's bothered like tell anybody. So he's already mapped up on the books. No, it's interesting when people talk about Haaland because I'm always just like, he's not that good. I truthfully like he is that good a goal scorer for sure. But number 9s are actually supposed to do more than what he just does. Like his game is not fully developed as a 9. Whereas I think Ivan Toney actually has more attributes as a more well-rounded 9 who just can't score as well as Haaland. And that's like my take. Like it sounds counterproductive because you think a striker's job is just to score goals, but there's lots of things that you can do.
But is Haaland not the best player for Man City? Not because he needs to do the Harry Kane role, the Ivan Toney role of the full complete number 9, but he's exactly what they need because he puts the ball in the net. And you guys might say he misses a lot of opportunities, but he's the number 1 goal scorer in the league. Like,
you know what? It is an interesting conversation that's been ongoing in the Premier League and in England, whether or not Haaland is is basically breaking Manchester City. I think there's a lot of other stuff going on with Manchester City, but I do think he would have done a lot better. Erling Haaland would have done a lot better in a counter-attack team. I think if you had put him at Liverpool, he'd be scoring maybe not as many goals in terms of sheer quantity that he has at this point, but I think he would be scoring more consistently every game. He is now kind of in a bit of a dry patch since he started the league. And frankly, nobody knew how to defend him when he first got to the Premier League. You could kind of see what was happening when he had been around for about a month or 6 or 7 weeks. Like, defenders were playing him a little different. They were playing Man City a little different. So I don't know. I always debate this.
I want to believe your argument, but he has 8 goals.
So many of them were so early. He was having hat trick after hat trick after hat trick so early in the season. And
I mean, next season will tell a lot, I think, honestly.
Yeah, we'll see how sustainable it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ivan Toney, I hope he's going to get suspended. I just hope it's not a crazy, like, for his sake. I
need 6 months till January. That's a good breakdown. That's a good medium.
Well, I mean, again, depending on what I think we're all saying the same thing. We would just love to know what was the nature of the bets he was putting down, and did he maybe have some inside info? If
he was betting like I said, League 2 games that he had no control over, he would never know anything about. Like, he's just placing bets on him, because he's a forward and he loves soccer and whatever. I don't see a huge lengthy ban.
He is going to have a Bet365 sponsorship opportunity. Like, if there isn't a betting company out there that's thinking, I got to sign this guy up, because while he's not like getting a paycheck from his team, he could probably be a sponsor, and it would be the funniest sponsorship arrangement ever.
Like digital video games.
So don't do this if you're a bettor. Don't put this money down. Don't think that Man United are in for the quadruple. There's a lot of people talking about it. I think it's just ways to fill dead air. One of these cups Man United already has. Great. The FA Cup
is already given to them. It's already been paid for. 10 games at home in a row. Who gets that? It's like 1 in 1,247 chance. It's insane.
Okay. Do you just line the entire room with tinfoil, and then when you leave, put the hat on? Or, like, how's the tinfoil conspiracy?
I take it with me. I take it with me everywhere.
The FA Cup, Man City and Man United are probably the two favorites right now, which is great. I mean, like, if you're a Man United fan, or if you're evaluating Man United's chances of winning the FA Cup, that's actually a pretty good spot. But the fact that they're in these 3 remaining tournaments right now at the stage of the season, having gone so deep in the first, the gas tank is going to get low at some point. Not only are they not going to win all of these things, because that's never going to happen, there's probably a good chance that they're standing in comfortable third in the Premier League gets knocked down, and that they're going to find themselves in a bit of a dogfight for 4th or 3rd, because this squad for Man United was never built to be attacking on all fronts these 4 trophy cabinets. Like, this is nuts. So the quadruple is not going to happen. I'm going to be that guy. I'd love it. Oh my God, I'd be so happy. But, like, it's not going to happen. A double
would be great.
A double would be amazing. But I think most United fans just be realistic and say, we got a piece of silverware. Amazing. If we can finish in the top 4, job done. What a season. And if you could throw in like a semifinal or a final in another tournament, great. I mean, now it's icing on a cake, but do not go around talking about quadruples.
If you win the UEFA, if you win the UEFA Cup, Europa, sorry, then you're automatically in the Champions League next year. So if you win that, you can just piss away whatever you want. And that's, what are you guys in the final 4 of that?
No, 8.
No.
Final
8. That tournament's so fucking long.
Yeah. The one thing I would just say on top of that is real Man United fans know that this is not a quadruple. I just want to say, like, Man United, the original team who did the treble, the proper treble, know that this is not a treble. This is not a quadruple. Basically, this would be I don't even know what you call it, because I used to have Man United fans saying to me when Liverpool won our treble, which isn't the treble. Man U won the treble in 99 because it was the Champions League, right? When we won the UEFA Cup in 2001, that was not, it needs another name. And like, I have to say that here as well, that like for United, they probably shouldn't, of course they want to do it. Of course their fans want to do it. But because these things are so rare, if United are going to do a quad of some kind,
Mm-hmm.
that last trophy there needs to be the Champions League. Like Man United are like a big club, and
You know
like,
what, man? I disagree, and
sure.
and
No
it's
worries, no
I
worries.
think people are giving this word quadruple too much power. It's more like if you're in 4 tournaments,
Sure.
and
Sure.
Ten Hag, as an example, he doesn't control. He had no say in the 4 tournaments he found himself in this season.
Of course.
If he wins all 4 of them,
It's
it's a
huge.
quadruple. It's
no
I mean,
doubt.
it's not as
No
prestigious as other quadruples. Like there's prestige to these things. There's tiers to these things.
Yeah.
But again, I just find it's not going to happen. So why?
Yeah, it's
why
very early at the moment.
Oh my God. Like we got the tiny cup. Let's not get excited. The tiny cup is ours. And that's maybe okay.
Does the tiny cup has 3 handles as well, which I've always found weird. But
yeah,
anyway.
Honestly,
that's the weird thing.
Yeah.
They picked it up and I was like, oh, I forgot how small that cup is. I was like disappointed. But yeah, don't anybody put money on fucking quadruples. Okay. It's not happening. It's if anything, the amount of these tournaments I'm looking at here represented by these trophies is a hindrance to practical things like finishing in the top 4. Anyways, I say this again, it's a mean segue. And I know I'm talking about like not even wanting to win some of these trophies because it's a pain in the ass. And yes, it is confirmed. Tottenham Hotspur are for sure not going to have a trophy again this year.
Yeah, where's Alex at? Alex, come back, dude.
Yeah,
come back.
Yeah.
You said there's only 3 teams that are difficult. You lost to the freaking championship team?
It's so hard for me to personally balance here because I don't hate Spurs. I just know so many Spurs fans I dislike because they're idiots who get hopeful to a degree where I think they are like separate from reality, and then they get dug in.
You can say names.
I'm not going to say names, but it's so like I used to like Spurs before I met certain people, and then it's just like it's just disgusting. And I'm almost at the point right now where I'm cheering for them to like win something one day, but like this is. The wheels are completely off, like from where they were not that long ago, like Champions League semifinals.
I don't understand how they're still winning games at this point.
I mean, even if they finish in the top 4 this year, like they're going to lose Harry Kane for sure.
He's going to go. Wants to stay. Like
he's got to go.
He wanted to stay because Conte was there, and that he believed.
And Conte's going to go.
And Conte's going to go. Harry Kane's going to go. And as soon as Harry Kane goes, Tottenham fans need to then have a sit down and probably see a therapist because it's going to just implode because you will never find another Harry Kane.
I don't even know.
Like, that's half of Harry Kane.
If you look around the league right now, right?
Ivan Toney.
What they have. Yeah, what they did with Pochettino once upon a time, he was a great young manager who was doing a real solid job for Southampton and had taught himself English and had like really impressed everybody across the league. So when they brought him into Tottenham, they were bringing in not the current guy, the Jose Mourinho or the Conte. They were bringing in the next guy, right? And it worked out so well for them. I look around the world right now, and once Conte is gone, they've used all the options of established managers.
Yeah,
I don't know where they look to next. Potter is maybe a guy I would have thought about, but Chelsea snapped him up. And I mean, he might be available once they fire him any day now, but that's not going to be a good look for Tottenham. I don't see that happening. So it's just such a weird, they're on the precipice of a dark time, and I can see it coming. Winter is coming for Tottenham.
You can see the car crash. It's great.
Can I just say one thing? Like, culturally, there is an issue at Spurs. Because, like, I always laugh at Liverpool fans when, like, they write us off for certain things. And I'm like, you realize that, like, over a 10, 20, 30-year window, 50 years, Liverpool do miracles. So, like, why would you write us off at this point? Like, we might fail anyway. Like, it's about in whatever said situation is, we might fail anyway. But, like, lean into the culture of the club, which is we might pull it off, right? Including Alisson scoring headers and, 4-0 against Barcelona and things like that. Just look at the comments today. So we only have 3 teams that I consider as difficult in Man U, Newcastle, and Liverpool. Other than that, we should win all our other games on paper, except your Spurs. Like, the whole thing about being Spurs is messing up the easy stuff, right? Like, it's about bottling it. Then underneath it says, well, you played a struggling Everton team, right, who had just beaten Arsenal.
Sorry, Alex, by the way.
10 men Newcastle. We were already winning 2-0 against Newcastle when they had a man sent off. You played Palace, in my opinion, 2 points dropped, fair. And Wolves are average at best, and you should be beating them. You should be winning trophies, like 100%. Like, you should be doing things, big things as well. You've got Harry Kane, you've got Son, you've got Conte. Like, it's the cultural thing about, like, and I'm not saying don't talk shit. All fans talk shit, but it's like not necessarily even knowing what you necessarily represent is the issue here, as well. As I think it's tough, man, because I have nothing but like respect for certain things about like certain players along the years. You know, we grew up with players like Gaza, Teddy Sheringham, great players. Harry Kane, how can you not respect Kane over the last like 10 years and stuff? But like culturally, until someone comes and breaks, like for us, we had a 30-year issue that like 25 years into that issue, it took somebody with the gravitas of Jurgen Klopp to come in, one in a generation kind of guy, to be like, this is a problem, I'm going to fix it. My guy won't even commit to like more than 2 years, right? They spend like X amount of money, and then their fans even are like, they didn't back Conte. It's just a tough situation, and I feel like Spurs fans are being set up as well for a little bit of like ridicule, because the things don't connect.
It doesn't
right?
add
And
up.
this is what I was saying about United before. Things have connected about United. When Klopp started to like light fire a little bit, we could feel it. Oh shit, now there's no divide in the fans. Like, you know, Rafa in, Rafa out, Brendan in, Brendan out. Everyone wants Klopp in, you know? And then there was like some of these moments where like we'd win against like a big team in the Champions League, and the players would come over and they'd start singing the songs that Liverpool fans were singing back to the song. And you feel it in your bones. You're like, something special's happening here. None of that is actually happening or has happened at Spurs. And yet they're about to potentially, very likely lose their greatest ever forward
with their greatest ever player.
With their greatest ever player, sorry. And like right next to him is like a top 5 forward for them as
and
well.
And he's getting old too.
And it's just like they still talk shit.
They're like their best keeper is going to be gone soon.
I don't know. I've given this a lot more thought than it probably is worth, but like I've always looked at Tottenham, and yeah, there's a culture issue, but there's got to be some underlying things happening there. Like, how come eventually every season they bottle it? Like, what are they not doing that the teams that avoid that are consistently doing? And I kind of had this suspicion. I kind of go to this quite a bit when I think about Tottenham. It's like, when my own club, and even Liverpool, actually, which is probably even a good example, are a little bit like, you know, they need that extra 5% in a game or in a season or in a run. They know the academy players can be that. So they bring them in. And all of a sudden, you've got Marcus Rashford debuting and scoring goals. And it lifts the stadium, the fans, the club. And that was a number of years ago. Now Garnacho's doing the same thing. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, he lifted them like quite a bit to the Champions League as well. Like, that's maybe the best example. But like this injection of like, when there's bad juju and bad momentum, you bring in the kids because they don't give a shit. They're just there to kick a ball and have some fun and play with some energy. And maybe the other players get out of their heads when that happened. I never see Spurs play a young guy or give a chance to a young player late in a game where it's maybe this is the thing that can get us to break how the game is going, but maybe even in a bigger sense, like how they can get out of these like ruts that they always find themselves in. And it bothers me because I think
was the last one?
Kane was a guy who
they had that defender who came out, but he's not going to change.
But he's not even Kane. Kane isn't even like a guy who broke through. Like they were just like, hey, why don't you go out there last 5 minutes and have fun? Like he was on loan a bunch beforehand. He had established himself. They brought him in. I think he played a bunch of Europa games and he was starting there.
Yeah, he was there for Tim Sherwood.
And maybe Pochettino was the guy who last tried to bring in young players and who was not afraid of like an Oliver Skip against Barcelona. And maybe he was the guy who might have been thinking the way I'm thinking, where youth can be like a different kind of way of like fixing the juju. Nothing tactical, nothing overly like it's just straight up the juju of football sometimes.
I love how many times you're saying juju. I'm here.
I just love it. I wanted to fix because they always talk about Dr. Tottenham, and I'm always thinking of like a voodoo doctor or something. Like I'm just like, if this is what it takes, like to fix it and think of it as being like juju from every baseball movie or Ted Lasso burning your bucket of things you remember. It's just there's something weird going on at Tottenham, and I have this theory that if they just change their way of looking at youth players a bit and maybe started to rely on them a little bit more, it could help them in some way. But I also say this realizing they are about to go through a very dark period of time because they're losing their best player, either to age, because he's going to be 3 or 4 years away from that, or to a transfer this summer to Man United. And I just don't know where that leaves them, because everybody else you see the top 4 in the Premier League, Newcastle are going to climb up, Liverpool are going to be up, Man United are going to be up, Chelsea will find a way. They'll find a way. Like, it feels like we're coming to the end of a sustained period of time for Tottenham. As I say this, realizing they are in 4th place right now and not looking too bad in the league.
Oh yeah, they're on a good run of form in the league, and
they're getting wins, but they're not playing great. Oh, even their fans are disgruntled about how they're playing, how they're looking. Like, besides the cup, like they're getting results, but they're not blowing away teams. They're nicking an odd goal. Harry Kane comes up and saves them, and then they hold out for the win. It has to catch them in this season. It has to catch them pretty soon. I honestly do think Liverpool will overtake them.
It's bad. It's just bad.
And if they drop out of the Champions League, that's it. Kane's gone for sure. That's it.
Also, I just feel like there's a lot of fans out there that take that shit too seriously and will have a very hard time for the next 10 years.
Are they the best team that never won a trophy at all? Because, like, even when
I love this question. I love this question.
Even when we weren't winning the league, we were picking up FA Cups. We won Champions League, Carabao. You know,
Steven Gerrard won Champions League. Like that's not.
Yes, yeah. So what I'm saying is the Tottenham, like, Pochettino, like bookended by Pochettino and Conte, is that the best? I'm asking. I'm not saying it is. I'm not making a statement. I'm asking.
I personally cannot think of a better, more accomplished team that had Harry Kane in his prime, Eriksen,
Alderweireld,
Son was kind of in there.
Kyle Walker was in that team at one
point. For a period, they had
Dembele
one of the best defensive pairs you could imagine. Like ball movement.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair show. Like honestly. They should have won something.
They should have won something.
They came second in both the Premier League and the Champions League. If you're watching this, and maybe a Spurs fan will watch this back, let us know. Like, is there a better team? Is there a team in the Premier League era?
Is there a team that's bottled it worse than us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming at this with more empathy than ridicule, but I really am wondering, like,
if they get mad at that question stated that way, prove it. Tell me the better team.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't even mean to say that in a douchey way, but if that's how it
came, I didn't mean to say it in a douchey way. I just reset it in a different way. Then, like,
my bad.
It's a little bit of a different spin.
I think we're saying the same thing. Either you're gonna word it nicely or not. It's still a very hard thing for like Tottenham fans to get their head around. I was like, wait a second, are we the worst team to?
Are we the best team that best team to trophy? Yeah, like
are we the biggest letdown team or? Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, I'm going to think about this too, because I'm sure there has to have been like
the only team that comes to my head is the old Leeds team when it had Rio Ferdinand in it. And like, did that team win anything before it just exploded?
Yeah, no, they didn't win anything.
I feel like the days of Cesc Fabregas, like Arsenal and Cesc Fabregas kind of era, but I think they won FA Cups. I think they still.
I want to say they won something.
I think Van Persie and Fabregas won an FA Cup at least.
I really like the Martin O'Neill Villa team.
Fuck me. I knew
the Ashley Young, Stuart Downing,
Gabby when he was good. Milner was on that team.
Yeah, I actually used to love
Brad Friedel.
Yeah, that was a good team.
That was a great team to watch. That was fun. God, I wish the good old days would come back to Villa. That's when I started.
Believe in your manager as well, though. Like I was saying about Lopetegui and all the good coaches. Emery's a very good coach.
He is. I really enjoy him. I called it very early on. I was like, it's clear that there's a good coach here. Like, and all the Villa fans are behind him, like supporting him. So
awesome.
Move on to the next subject. I know. Let's look at another long-term EPL team.
Well, here's the thing, guys. They can't score goals. They can't defend. They're a donut in the middle of the park.
So bad.
It's just bad. Like I think we all kind of knew it was going to be bad. We've been talking about it for a while, but now the rubber's hitting the road. They were absolutely decimated by Arsenal, and I think a lot of folks were hoping that Sean Dyche can go there and like kind of get them to be a little bit more like sturdy, but they look like shit. Like it was good. It was a good performance by Arsenal. They're very hot right now, very, very attacking, but it looked like Everton laid down for them as well. Like the second half of that game was a fucking joke. Nottingham Forest are coming up. Nottingham Forest are on the rise, and I think we're going to want blood in the water a little bit against Everton, as I think most of these teams are.
Yeah.
Brentford, if Ivan Toney is still available, will beat Everton. I feel really comfortable about that. Chelsea have to be looking at Everton as being like a fuck. We have to do something. like
if our manager's still here, we have to at least get a goal against them.
Tottenham are going to smash them. Man United are probably going to lose them, but like whatever. Like this is
half of these games are against the top 8 teams.
It's not good. Like things are going to get worse. Like I don't even know. Like it's not even about like will they get out of the third last relegation? Right, they might get deeper into the relegation zone. They might go down deeper, and I think at some point they're just gonna like roll over and die. I think it's gonna be more spending time on the phone talking to their agents about moves out next year than it is doing what they did last year, which is like digging deep and really riding the back of Richarlison to get them out of this. But this is 2 years in a row. They've been hot garbage.
Yeah. My buddy Cheedy, who was with me for the last game, Villa Everton, he was there on the day they found out they secured safety. And he was like, all the fans, nobody was moaning in the stadium. Everybody was cheering them on, just like Liam said. Like the fans willed them over the team. The fans had their before game demonstrations, and when the kickoff went, it was over. They were after them, and they were just like with the team. And I don't feel it. I don't see it happening for them this time.
It's too much. It's too much to have Everton fans
in the hole.
Like Everton fans deserve better than this and should expect better than this. And for this to happen 2 years in a row, and
they're going. And this is a team that's never been out of the EPL. They're one of the final 4 teams who have never been out of the EPL, and they are going to go down. And with this wage bill they have, and with the bill they have for the new stadium, I am terrified for them. This could be the end of Everton.
This is going to be financial fair play in action. People are going to be like, yeah, this is why we have it, everybody.
Yeah.
Just to be clear as well, not just the Prem, like the top flight ever.
Yeah.
Like Premier League's been going since 92. Everton have never not been in the top flight of English football since their inception. So
are you 100% on that?
Yeah. I thought
they had been to the third league.
I believe it's Arsenal and Everton have never been relegated. Have never been in a lower division. But if someone wants to fact check that, please go ahead.
Yeah, we need a Twitter
write it in your comments.
Yeah. This is going to be bad. What was it? They couldn't. Their owners couldn't go to a game because it was unsafe for them.
They had been advised by security that it was, and it wasn't the owners, it was the board, but it was, and it was it's the board, but one of the guys in the board is literally he's the guy who cuts the checks. Like, he's not the guy who makes the contracts. He's just the guy who cuts the checks to the coffee salespeople and the players. Like, why would you try to kill the finance guy? What has he got to do with this situation?
That's the guy you need to keep alive for the next few years, because we're going to really need him right now.
Stuff. It's wild and it's kind of sad. And
like,
I'm a little bit here for it though. Like, I'm a little bit like, wouldn't this be like a hell of a year if Everton went down?
Like, I only see them
and
getting
Fulham
points.
finished 7th.
Yeah, I can only see him getting points against Fulham and against, and maybe a point against Leicester, and that's it.
Oh,
maybe a point, maybe some points against Crystal Palace. So you have 3 games out of these 10 that they can get points out of. Maybe.
I don't think you know Fulham if you think they can get points off Fulham. Fulham are
sorry. Crystal, Leicester. Yeah, maybe that's it.
And that's not enough.
Not enough.
So they almost need to. They have to. This upcoming game against Nottingham Forest, they have to win this. Like,
yeah,
this is none of these are easy targets, but that team is the only one where you need to give yourself at least 3 points before you start going on a consecutive run of games where you're probably going to lose every game.
And Everton are away.
Yeah. And here we are.
Been nice knowing you, Everton.
21 points. Get used to that number, 21. You'll be seeing it for a few weeks. And then you won't see them again. Ever. And that's our show, everybody.
Hey.
Thanks, Liam, for sticking with us.
Yeah, Liam,
Alex, thanks for jumping in.
Good show.
I'm just gonna say before we go.
Sorry, Brian.
Liverpool have rumored to be releasing the ugliest kit I've ever seen in my entire fucking life, and I feel like it's a variation of the kit you're wearing now, but like if a child vomited after eating the jersey you're wearing now.
Yeah, I'm
God, I wish
disgusted with the first mock-up, and I refuse to believe it's real until I see the real thing.
God, that would be great.
Just smart. Liam, yes, if Chelsea lose to Everton, I feel like Potter won't make it out of the stadium alive.
Yep.
Just like the Everton board members were threatened.
Hanging from the rafters at Goodison Park.
Yeah. I am looking forward to talking to Eric again about Modric because he was a little too blasé about this kid who got signed for all that money who played in the Ukrainian league. I think his exact words were like, well, he's got speed. You can't defend speed. So I'm looking forward to talking to Eric about apparently you can defend speed.
We can do it next week.
Yeah. And the whole, we saw it in the first game. He's going to be great. He just
that was against
the first game. And it was just like, bro, you are drinking the juice. You are a Tottenham fan.
He's still going to be great. He still is. But it's just there's stepping stones and there's giant leaps. And this was asking him to do a giant leap, which isn't fair to him as a player. And if he stays on the radar, I'm sure he's still going to work out. But what a time to be a Chelsea fan. Okay, boys, that's it.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace out, everybody. And the music starts now.
This is the North End. This is the North End.